Hey, it's Nate.
Hey, it's Barry.
It's Brian.
Welcome back to the Collecti-Bros podcast. Topic of discussion today, we all picked antagonists from games that we were going to talk about, whether we admired them, thought they were right, or just simply liked their character design. We all picked a couple. We're going to discuss them. A little roundtable conversation today.
This one's going to be difficult because I have stuff you've never played and you have stuff I've never played.
That's cool. We can pull up pictures and show each other, and I think that's kind of fun, though. We'll share experiences, you know? I think it's part of the charm of this podcast. If you guys have any antagonists you want to share, check out our social medias. We're at Collecti-Bros Pod at all of those. And if you really want to get engaged with us, tell us why we're wrong or right, share some of your favorites, check us out in the Discord. Links in the episode, that's the word I'm looking for.
Description.
Link to the Discords in the show notes. Get on there. Tell us some of your favorites. We love to engage with all of you guys. I think this will be a pretty fun one. We're all going to have kind of a variety because there's some games and stuff like obviously we all haven't played. We'll get a nice little mix here today. So before we jump in and talk about the topic at hand today, let's do playing and pickups. Since we actually play games.
Sort of.
Of late, that's kind of questionable. This will be an interesting one compared to your normal,
Long
honestly.
time to mention that.
Yeah, this is a unique circumstance episode. But Brian, you want to lead us off?
I can. Yeah. As far as pickups, I've been in peak at work, so I haven't picked up a ton. I haven't played a ton. But when you're sitting at your desk all day, you know, you buy stuff, whatever. I got some hauls for Black Friday.
I didn't know.
Yeah. I got some Game of the Year candidates on Black Friday. Picked up Skull Island Rise of Kong. Excited for that one. Also picked up Golem for $7, so super stoked on that. Also picked up Redfall. So, like, you know.
What a choice.
I mean, here's the deal. Everyone's talking about Game of the Year, especially right around the Game Awards, right? Like, no, that's not. I'm more interested in the bottom half of that discussion. And I'm going to find out by the year's end. I still need to pick up Walking Dead Destinies is what I need, but I refuse to pay $50 for that. Also picked up Goat Simulator 3, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, Aliens Dark Descent, which I'm actually really excited to play. It's like almost a real-time XCOM strategy game. Looks really interesting.
I feel like it kind of got lost in the shuffle this year. There's just so much stuff coming out.
It definitely did, and it's 2 Aliens games recently. And, Fireteam Elite was super underappreciated, and I'm sure this is going to be more the same. I've heard great things about it, so I'm really excited to play that one, actually. I picked up the Best Buy exclusive Rainbow Six Siege Deluxe Edition just because it was dirt cheap on Black Friday. And then I got WWE 2K23 because it was like $20, Series X and Xbox One. And then lastly, I picked up, spoiler for...
Did they release 24?
Not yet, no. It's not out yet.
When do they usually release that? I thought they usually release those in September.
No, the WWE is usually like towards baseball season, beginning of the year, like March, after the Royal Rumble, right before WrestleMania.
First quarter?
Yeah.
They
Okay.
announced the cover athlete yet?
Did they announce anything?
Well, I'm assuming it's a change of plans now with their new roster overhaul, but
I didn't hear about that, huh?
I don't know what the cover. I think the cover athletes, they'll probably do like a deluxe edition like they do with a different like legend guy, and then they do like a current. I'm sure it'll be CM Punk.
I think it's going to be a twist where it's supposed to be Cody and he's getting replaced by CM Punk. Kind of like how they had CM Punk on the AEW game and they replaced him with Kenny, but
maybe
bygones are bygones.
I would throw CM Punk on it if like it had any marketing sense. Like, come on.
Shit, come on. But yeah, that's the Black Friday pickups. Spoiler, someone opened their Christmas present early and they got Avatar, which is by hand. I got Avatar. I don't care about Avatar, but apparently it plays like Far Cry, so I'm sure she's playing it as we're recording this.
I was abducted by the RDA.
I've seen that ad a million times, but a million times less than you, bro.
Oh, so many times.
It's Pocahontas. Like,
now that I'm free.
Yeah. I remember watching Pocahontas as a kid, so I've seen Avatar. But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty. All the gameplay I've seen of it, I'll fill you in next time because I'm sure Sherry's going to be putting hours into it. And then lastly, Crash Team Rumble. It's one I wanted to play and I just didn't really want to pay full price for it. It looks interesting. It's kind of like a Power Stone party kind of game. I don't know how to describe it. It's like 4v4. It's party based. It's objective based, but Crash is getting some love, so that's cool. I always support Crash. They had Spyro for season 2 for the anniversary. Like, I love Spyro the Dragon. Definitely a soft spot because it's one I played a ton of as a kid. So I'm actually going to play that here. Actually have some time off for it because I get to use all my PTO now. So I'm off almost the rest of the year, thankfully. So I'm going to play some games. And then today I actually picked up a couple of used games finally because I got to go to a game store.
Wait, you're off until the end of the year?
I've got to go the last week, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm using all my PTO. It's pretty great.
Does yours roll over?
No.
Okay, yeah, dump it.
Yep. So I was like, see you next year.
At least you're allowed to use yours.
Well, yeah. For
At
the
least
most
you
part.
have some.
Yeah. The used games I got, classic Digging for Dinosaurs on the Nintendo DS from Scholastic. I just saw those dinosaurs and they looked pretty shitty fighting on the back, so I was like, yep, need that. It's like an educational fossil fighters, basically. Looks horrible. Oh, dear Lord. What was this translated to? My Japanese is subpar.
On the spine, on the inside spine. Other spine.
Yeah, it's in Japanese,
Yeah,
but it's in English still.
Other spine, yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, I got you.
Let's see, Nate.
Right here. When you turn it that way.
Oh,
You just
go
read
ahead.
it.
Go ahead, read it. Go ahead. You said you got it?
I said I got it for you to look at, but I will give it an attempt.
Yeah.
Pro-Yaku Team Deapsu.
Roughly translate to let's make pro baseball.
Why couldn't you just say that from the
I
get-go?
was trying to set them up.
Unfazed, bro.
That's all right. But yeah, it was a Japanese exclusive import for Dreamcast. It was $4. It's complete. It's got the little bookmark in it, everything. So, whatever. Picked up Hot Pixel for the PSP. I didn't know a ton about it. I knew it was Atari's answer to WarioWare. And price was right. It's like single digits. So, okay, it's exclusive, whatever. PSP is awesome. And then lastly, the big one. That's funny, though, because I have so many imports of this game, and I don't know why. It's not like I give a shit. It's 2011, 2008. This is the Korean PS3 edition. And I have a Japanese import for PSP. So I don't know why this game just keeps following me. And I'm like, oh, it's a different cover. I'll pick it up for like $1.
The
or $2.
subset you never asked for.
Never asked for, never wanted. Still has a place on my shelf, I guess. Well, who's next?
That was it's probably the meatiest one, dude.
What are you
Shit,
playing?
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't played a lot. Been playing Call of Duties because it's easy to pick up and play when I was at work, literally 12-hour days for 6 days a week. Nate and I ended up playing a game on Game Pass that was actually pretty fun called Rubber Bandits. It's basically like Gang Beast where you rob banks instead of fight, and it was pretty funny. Physics-based, basically your character just kind of got boundless arms and you have to hold the button to drag and shoot guns and the recoil goes crazy. And
the campaign was like, there's a co-op campaign, so that was kind of like a unique spin on it. It was like, co-op, so it's a fun experience that we haven't had in a while, so.
Yeah, it was definitely worth checking out. It's leaving Game Pass, unfortunately, I think tomorrow or today, so you're not going to be able to play it on Game Pass, but if it's cheap, pick it up. It's fun to play with friends. Like, Nate and I had a blast just doing stupid shit with physics that has no business being so fun that it is. But I really haven't played a lot. It's that time of year. Like, literally this week I'm playing games, so excited for that. Just this time of year. Y'all know how I'm sure y'all can attest to that. What about you, Barry?
What about me? Well, I officially took my final today, so I'm done.
Hey.
Round of applause, yay.
I have not bought anything until today.
Hey.
Because we ran out to get a couple of things and ended up finding Rygar on the PS2 after one of our conversations at some point about how I thought I had the game and I didn't. I don't remember what episode we talked about that.
It was last episode, or 2 episodes ago.
Was
Childhood
it?
Games, yeah.
Childhood games? Okay.
It's been a month, y'all.
Yeah, it has. So I found one of those, which is cool. Picked that up. And then I found the last Ratchet and Clank I needed, which was Into the Nexus for PS3. So that's not the only thing I've bought. I haven't been buying anything because I'm still week 3 of supposedly 4 of waiting on my car to get fixed. Supposedly. They sent me a text today that said they might have had it done today. I'm just guessing it's still going to be the 21st.
Damn.
Which is, next week. Yeah. In a couple days as of this. So I have to squirrel away $500 that I didn't really want to squirrel away. So I just haven't bought anything. And in addition to not buying anything, I haven't been playing anything. So I'm basically like useless on this podcast right now.
There's a guy on YouTube that's made a whole career out of this. Like, you'll be fine.
okay, but the difference is I admit I haven't been playing anything. I just don't say it's cool and looks unique and looks fun. So there's a difference there.
You've done more than me lately.
So after I've had a couple opportunities this week because I haven't actually been in class because we had to take the final. So I had some more time to put into Valheim, which I'm liking that game. What's kind of cool is the game is kind of set up in an almost like how the game is intended to play the first time, but there are world settings you can change. So you can change like, it doesn't cost materials to build this thing. Like once you learn how to make it, you can just build it infinitely, which is cool for people who just want a chill game to like build cool bases. But the portals in the game, there are some items that you can't teleport through portals. So it makes it very difficult. It slows down progression a lot, and I just wasn't having a great time. So when I saw in the settings I could basically turn off the teleportation restrictions, I was like, forget it. So I turned it off, and I'm having like a great time.
Sweet.
I just beat the 3rd boss, so this is further than I got the first time I tried to play it. Now I'm about to go for the 4th. I think there's 7 or 8 bosses in the game. I don't know. But at some point, once I get far enough, I'm going to find a little island in the middle of the sea where no monsters can fight me and build a castle on it. That's the plan. And then actually, I've been playing, we've played it twice, played a Lethal Company with a couple friends of the show, and I don't really know how to explain this game. It's like super, super, super popular right now, like all over streaming and whatnot. And I saw it on a whim on Steam and was like, this game kind of looks fun. And you play as employees of a company who send you out to old, like, I don't know, facilities or whatever, and you have to collect scrap and then bring it back and then turn it in, and you have to meet a certain quota of items of money's worth to turn it in a 3-day span. But the problem is like the moons have weather conditions where, like, if it's stormy and you're holding a metal item, a lightning bolt will shoot you. That happened to me. It's very quick. I was carrying this giant, it was almost like a radiation tube. I don't even really know what it was, but I was like carrying it out and I heard the sizzling and the lightning bolt just like zapped me so fast and my body just ragdoll flew through the air. I was like instantly dead. And then there's a bunch of monsters, and the closer it gets to the nighttime, the more the aggressive monsters come out. So it is a very steep learning curve, I guess. Like, it doesn't really give you a tutorial of any kind. It's very difficult to fight these. Like, you can't fight these monsters, to be honest. Like, you don't have a lot of money to start with in the beginning, so all you can really afford is a flashlight and a walkie. That's really it. And so if you encounter a monster, like, you better run. You can't fight it, you can't kill it. It will kill you. So it's kind of difficult to start the game while not knowing what to do with a bunch of these monsters. Like, we're just kind of having a hard time getting our feet under us. So the difficulty is weird. I'm not like a super big fan of it. I wish they implemented some kind of way of like having easier levels to start, where like don't take out the monsters entirely, but stop putting all the crazy aggressive ones in that like I just don't have the ability to fight. I think the game's in early access, so it's not like they, can't improve it, but I just feel like it's difficult to get into. So, it is proximity chat too, so if you try and play this game like in a Discord channel, it kind of breaks the game. So we haven't been playing in Discord, we've been playing in game. So the closer you get to someone, like, you can hear them talking in the game, and that's why you need like a walkie-talkie, so you can have someone sit on the ship and tell them like turn left, turn right here. But then like if you just if you take 2 people inside of the dungeon thing and you guys go off into other rooms and you can't hear each other, and then you're just like, Brian, and you're not getting a response, like, I'm assuming you're lost or you're dead and I'm leaving. And then you don't, and then like, if you die, you can watch other people play and like you can hear them talk, but you can't hear the dead people like whatsoever. And there was one I gotta share. I was playing with Kyle and Megan, surprise, and there are these like, what are they called? They're like almost like beehives, and it was on the ground, and there's these things called circuit bees on them, and so if you get too close, the circuit bees come and attack you. it'll swarm after you. So Kyle had this fantastic idea. He was like, hey, Barry, how about I scare the circuit bees away and you go grab the beehive and throw it on the ship so we can, like, take their beehive. I was like, okay. So he, like, ran toward it and I see his little body running away and the swarm's going after him. So I pick up the beehive, turn around and I go to the ship and I jump on to throw it back on and I turn back around and see the bees followed me. So out of panic, I threw the beehive onto the ship, and now the bees, like, killed me on the ship. But the problem is they just attach themselves back to the beehive, so now nobody can get back onto the ship.
Damn.
So I'm just, like, dead, and I hear him, and I see him and Megan off into the side, and he's like, oh, Megan, we might have a problem. She's like, what? He's like, well, I had this really cool idea. I was telling Barry to grab the beehive, and now the bees are on our ship. And we had to basically just, like, die at that point. Long story short, don't take the beehive on your ship, because the bees will just be in your ship and you'll die. But that's all I've been doing. We only played maybe, like, 3 hour sessions of that, so we haven't really gotten too much into the game, But now that I'm free, the first obvious goal is to play the Final Fantasy DLC. I bought that the second they announced it. Secondly, finally play Spider-Man 2.
Yay.
Because I installed it and then literally just had not a single ounce of time enough to play that game since October. Which is wild. It's like a month and a half ago.
It's that time of year, though, man.
So, and then we've already got, I think we pretty much have the rest of the next year planned out, right?
Yep.
For what we're doing.
Yep.
So
Start knocking some of those out.
yeah, it gives me an opportunity to start doing some of those games that are longer. Brian has one that's like 50 hours, 50, 60 hours or whatever to beat, which, spoiler, it's a game I don't want to play, but here I am, I'm going to play it.
One of the main reasons why I picked it is because this is like the only way I'm ever going to play it also.
Oh, so in Brian's quest to make himself suffer, he's also made all of us suffer.
I mean, it could be like, hey, we playing Skull Island, fucking Golem, and Walking Dead before the end of the year. But nah, I'm a generous god.
Well, you know what?
I want to play the game if it makes you feel any better.
Which one?
The
one we're talking
The
about?
50,
The one on
60 hour
topic.
game?
I bought it, so clearly I wanted to play it, but it just, there's so much other shit out, man. And at this point, it's like, they're never going to make a sequel or anything. Y'all use your deductive reasoning to figure out what we're talking about.
Well, you're not going to see that one for like 6
Yeah.
months. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's pretty far
Sit
down.
on that for 6 months,
It's
chew all your
pretty
fingernails
far down
off.
the docket.
Yeah.
So let me pull it up. I'll give him some something to look forward
Y'all
to.
going to run out
here.
of fingernails in anticipation.
God, let's see.
But you got a long one too, though.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
berries are
benefit of the
long,
one
bro.
that I picked is I've already played it.
Oh,
I've already played it.
Bro, I did that in December. I was like, we already played this. All right, because I already know next year's going to be like
well, I
this
think
also.
same. That's the one that Barry picks like towards the end of the year too. It's one I've actually wanted to play for an extremely long time. So
The one I picked is going to be the second to last one of next
Right.
year, so you have like 10 months to play it.
I'm super excited for that one actually. So
Let's see. Let's see. We got a PS1 game, we got a DS game,
Luckily, we
Super
have a good mix.
Nintendo,
Yeah, we got a good mix.
PSP, GameCube. There's a GameCube game in there.
Did Nate pick a 64 game?
Did Nate pick a 64 game?
I
He
did.
picked 2 64 games.
yep.
Mr.
Suffering.
Nintendo 64 should be your YouTube channel, bro.
Nintendo
Happens
64.
to be just happens to be a nice part of my collection.
I get it.
Let's see. Nate got a big heavy hitter picked out.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
okay,
don't
yeah.
remember.
Brian's got a big heavy hitter picked out for the Super Nintendo. I don't. Mine's just,
All your games are heavy hitters, Barry.
I mean, okay, the GameCube one I guess could be considered somewhat of a heavy hitter. I think both yours are worth what, over like $200 or something?
Yeah,
I have
mine's
two.
Yeah.
I have two that are over that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Nate's bringing in some of them big boys, I guess.
They're short.
But there's a slight sneak peek. So we do have the entire year planned out already. That's not to say if you have an idea for an episode you want to hear about, we can just sub it out for something.
That's the beauty of planning ahead. You can kind of be flexible.
Yes.
yeah, for sure.
So, we got some requests last
Like our
week.
next episode.
Very true.
What's our next episode?
Clay-
Oh yeah.
It was
Our next
requested.
episode is a special request episode. So that'll be exciting. Our Christmas special, a gift,
Yes.
which will be announced at the end of this episode. I'm sorry. Anything else you guys want to talk about? It's only 20 minutes.
I ain't
Nate's-
gone yet.
Nate hasn't gone yet.
Oh, fuck me. I'm usually... I was your episode, so I thought I was
Oh,
last,
yeah, I
so
see
you
what
would
you
go
did
into
there.
the episode.
I
I'm
fucked
sorry.
up. That
Okay,
was my
never
bad.
mind.
That was my bad.
So, Nate, what you been playing and picking
Well,
up?
it's no big deal. Mine's pretty short. It's been a hell of a month, just to be honest. I have not played or picked up a whole lot. As far as pickups, I didn't pay for this. I made a vow not to pay for it when it came out.
Is it Call of Duty?
No, worse. Honestly, worse.
Worse?
Yeah. I had a bunch of Microsoft gift rewards from doing like the quests and stuff where I had like $20 of
Like gift card? Like
yeah.
Microsoft Rewards.
The,
Yeah.
Bucks.
the digital sales were kind of slamming,
some X-Bucks?
so I got 2K.
Ew.
So I don't play My Career, which is like the extremely predatory mode. I've heard this is like a major step backwards for the franchise. And I've been an avid 2K player for a long time. Like I love basketball.
Wait, so you had a $20 credit for their online store and you chose NBA?
Dude, it was $20 for like the series.
Do you know
X
how
season.
many good games are for $20?
There's some heat out there right now. All
Yeah,
the
I
digital
know.
sales-
I mean,
But then it's like I don't have to buy
let
it.
me roll back.
I don't
Nate's a sportsman. I'm
I
not.
I saw
get
that-
it, though. You basically
so
got
Let me
2K
roll back my shittery.
2K comes out every year. It gets shit on because people play My Career, and like, it's an extremely predatory mode. I can tell from the ones I've played when they do server closers because I start it and try to get what I can in it. It's like it's extremely predatory, and it's gotten worse and worse every year. I feel like some people are like just don't play that mode then because the 5-on-5 has been really good for a couple of years. That's what I play. This year they went full predatory. There's like season passes, and you gotta drop like literally $150 to get your character remotely playable. So I'm avoiding all that, sticking to the 5-on-5 like I always do. It's terrible this year too. Spoiler. I think people who don't traditionally like 2K will like it because it plays like an older, like 360 PS3 era game. I get what they tried to do. It is just implemented very poorly. They tried to change. It was almost too simulator-like before, where you had like, it almost looked like you were playing like a simulated basketball game where there was like preset moves going up to like a layup, and you couldn't like adapt because it was doing that pre-rendered animation, and the defender was doing the same thing. They tried to get rid of that, which is like, okay, that was a huge complaint for people that played the game. Now it plays too fucking video gamey, where it's like, it's super loose and fluid, but it doesn't
NBA
feel
Live?
tight. No, not NBA Live cartoony, but it just it feels off, and it feels like it's last generation. Honestly, like it's a step back. Like even if you like 2K, like you have to admit to step back. But I didn't pay for it.
Yeah, but they made their money.
This is the highest selling 2K of all time.
Oh, Jesus.
They have made more money off this one in the first month.
Isn't this the first one they had that battle pass
yes,
in too?
they
Yep.
made more money in the
Yep.
first month of this one than the entire
Fucking
2023 last
basketball
year.
has a battle pass. It's
Sheeps
so
are gonna
fucking
be
crazy.
sheep.
That's the thing. So I said I wouldn't give any of my money. I stood by my commitment. I got it for free. I'll dabble. I've dabbled with it a little bit. I'll just throw a game in every once in a while if I want to play, but I played that a little bit. I've been playing Fortnite when I have free time. They had a big update. Fortnite's basically a launcher at this point where people are making games inside this game, and we got a Lego survival mode, which I'm not huge into survival
I
games.
thought that was an official.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a community thing. That's like an
Yeah,
official
we
mode,
got,
right?
we got 3 official things, but then there's like community, like before the community modes were like mazes and shit like that. There's like, I saw someone make Hotline Miami like in Fortnite mode, but like it plays just like Hotline Miami. Like people
Wow.
are like really going crazy with it right now. But yeah, we got a Lego survival mode, which I haven't really, I messed around with it for a little bit just to get the quest done, but it's like rocket racing for like Rocket League. It's okay, but Rock Band creators made a Rock Band clone.
We get plastic instruments in January.
I know, which I'm kind of excited about. So I do love those games, but yeah, I've just been kind of dabbling with Fortnite, so I haven't had a whole lot of free time to play games lately. It's just been a crazy month, honestly, but played a little bit too. I've been on the show because it's easiest to pick up and play. I haven't had I gave like an hour or two a day where I can kind of mess around with the game. I'm going to start this Final Fantasy 16 DLC because that's like the big one for me. I was going to play Witcher, but I got to finish this Final Fantasy DLC first, so heard it's not super long. It's like 15-20 hours probably, so knock that out and get started on Witcher. Now that I actually have, it looks like after next week I'll have some free time, so just that time of year. Yeah, it's just, I had a rough month, so hopefully I can get kind of back in a routine.
Let's see. Final Fantasy DLC,
That's what I'm most excited.
Witcher, Spider-Man 2. Brian, what's your last
I'm gonna
couple
beat
games of
Final
the year?
Fantasy before the year's end. So yeah, I'm actually took off work this weekend just to play. So literally, I'm doing nothing but playing video games. There's a Call of Duty event for Dune going on right now. I can knock that out tonight, whatever. And then Final Fantasy. Yeah, I want to beat it. So
DLC.
And then Golem. And then fucking Golem.
You're gonna play Golem?
Golem, Kong, and then I go buy Walking Dead before the year's end. Just
God.
straight to the arm. Just
All of this glorious time that you used your PTO for, and you're gonna play Golem.
y'all think our year's end wrap episodes are about the games we enjoyed. Mine's gonna be about the games I did not enjoy.
You're gonna go home today with Armored Core, and I'm gonna have you play that.
Do you remember that part in Planet of the Apes when Caesar first talks?
No, I didn't watch. Never watched Planet of the Apes. Never seen it.
It's alright. He just screams.
Yeah, I've avoided everything for this Final Fantasy DLC just to kind of be surprised by, because I didn't even know it was coming out this fast. So
I only saw the trailer.
I didn't
It's
even
not
watch
even.
that.
It's not even like the big DLC,
Right.
But they showed a little bit of that one on the trailer, and it
That's
was
just-
Leviathan, like everybody said it was gonna be.
Yep. I saw that Buster Sword though. I saw that.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. The one. So there's like a mini story quest that's out now, and then you can buy like the season pass to get the other DLC it's releasing. I think it's in February
Yeah.
ish.
Right before 7.
Oh, fucking kill me.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh, right before 7 and right during Skull and Bones, I guess, huh? That's fine. And,
Yakuza comes out early too. Damn, there's so
God.
many good games coming out.
2024 is shaping up to be pretty nice so far too, honestly.
real. Infinite Wealth, man. I'm excited for Infinite Wealth.
what's Infinite Wealth?
The new Yakuza.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Like a
yeah.
dragon,
They
excuse
showed
me.
him naked
Yeah.
on the beach or whatever.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't care if anything else comes out. We got Final Fantasy 7 Part 2. So
Yep,
let's
that's
go.
literally
I'm
just
ready.
like,
Yakuza Cross Animal Crossing, bro.
boys, we're gonna see if Aerith dies or not.
Oh man, I wonder.
Taking bets.
I wonder.
Taking bets.
Are we putting a bet out right now?
I'm putting the bet out. They're still gonna kill her.
I'm gonna go. Yeah.
I'm gonna go no.
They're gonna kill her.
No, that'd be too big of a plot twist. No,
They're gonna kill her.
That's too much variation. They're gonna kill her. Of course, they're gonna kill her.
Ooh,
We'll come back in 3 months to see if we were right.
both alternate endings.
Both?
So there's 2 disc.
Two different paths, like
Oh,
Resident Evil 2.
I've seen these theories about how it's like a parallel world, and there's 2 Clouds and 2 Aeriths and 2
Oh,
Tifas and 2
man.
Zacks, and that's why one of the Zacks is alive because he's the alternate one.
Kingdom Hearts 4.
Like some kind of parallel, like
4D.
time warp dimensional thing, and I'm just like, shut up.
Yep.
Damn,
I'm just saying they're gonna kill her. They're gonna
Yeah.
kill her.
I agree. It's like one of the most
gonna-
known. Even if you don't know shit about Final Fantasy, you know that 100-foot stage dive through a sword. Like everyone knows that. They're not gonna-
Iconic. You can't
What-
have that
It's
spot.
surpassed iconic. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It has to happen. And Gloria's 4K.
They're gonna kill her, and we're gonna CPR with a dolphin. You don't CPR on the dolphin, but
We are in this one.
we're gonna have that scene still.
It's a good jumping on point talking about the most iconic moment in antagonist history, arguably for video games, to start talking about our episode now.
Which isn't in this one. We didn't mention this moment.
It's true.
We didn't
It's kind of the obvious.
deliberately. Nobody picked that one because
Yeah,
it was bitter.
we all know about it already. And if you don't, like, I'm sorry if I spoiled
Guys, if you
Final
weren't
Fantasy
aware,
for you.
Sephiroth kills Aerith. Spoiler alert.
I hope you guys knew that. If not, like, you're amazing at hiding, and you should probably like go train FBI people how to hide from.
Also, if you didn't know, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad.
What else we got? Any more villain spoilers?
I don't know. What are the other iconic ones of like, oh my gosh, a spoiler of something that happened like 30, 40 years ago?
Judas killed Jesus. Let's go. Let's get into this episode. Let's just kind of open it up. Brian, talk about a villain that you like and why.
Well, first I'll start with what I look for and what makes a good villain.
Yeah. What do you look for
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
your
what's
villains?
Yeah, so what, in my opinion, what makes an interesting villain, like, I'm not really big on, like, just bad for the sake of being bad. And I think this goes back to, like, comic books, right? You know, I know a lot of people, like, the Joker's, like, the best villain ever. I think it fits that character specifically, but the fact that he's just evil and bad, it's really boring to me. I don't really have any interest. For me, what makes a good villain is more of, like, the Silver Age Marvel style, where you don't necessarily agree with what they're doing, but in their perspective, you can see why they're doing the things they're doing. The best example that comes to mind is like classic, 1960s Magneto. He was literally thrown in a concentration camp by humans because he was different, and he's obviously full of rage and hatred for humans because they murdered his family, they tortured him. Like, you don't necessarily agree with like, hey, all humans have to die, but if you were in his shoes, you could be like, I kind of see why you don't like humans. To me, it's a much more interesting read when they have a motive behind their actions. Even if you disagree with the way they are going about things, empathy and sympathizing for that person. I think, Killmonger from Black Panther movie is another great example. You can see why he doesn't like certain people, but his ways of going about that necessarily you don't have to agree with, but you can sympathize for that villain. What about you, Barry?
I can see why you would like a villain like that, but to me, a good villain is one that you cannot find a single reason to like them. They are just vile. They are so convicted in their evil ways that they will not listen to reason. They're just, there's no possible way for them to come back, and they're just going to do what they're going to do. I don't know. I don't like sympathizing with my villains. I think it humanizes them too much. And sometimes in some writing it's good.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking about a real villain antagonist that's just like a horrible thing that you want to beat down, like, I really like the ones that, like, there's no coming back. They're just so far in that, like, they're just horrible, horrible people.
Total piece of shit.
Yeah.
Joffrey's.
Yeah, Joffrey's, like, Homelander is another one.
Universally hated.
You know, in an example, like,
Billy Zane in Titanic.
in Dragon Ball, and I feel so bad for, what is his name? Andy Starr, I think, the guy who plays Homelander, because, like, the character is so vile, and he does such a good job playing him.
Good.
And I'm like, I feel so bad for you. But another one, like, in Dragon Ball, like, to me, like, Frieza is, like, the ultimate villain, because he is just, like, so deep in his own conviction of, like, hatred for everybody else that he thinks that he's the greatest ever. And they've tried to make him more friendly and super or whatever, but, like, to me, like, that's, like, the villain. Where every time you see them, you just want to punch them in the face because they suck so hard. And you're like, get out of here, I hate you. There's nothing good about you. Die.
I kind of like both. So there's some on my list I kind of went with Brian, where it's like, the 60s Marvel style where, they're intelligent, you can see why they have a following. Then there's some where it's like, man, it's so satisfying just to blow your brains out. Like, you're the ultimate a-hole. Like, there's a reason I love Captain America. Bro, he punches Nazis. Like, everyone, like, fuck Nazis. And Captain America's just decking them. It's like, yeah, So I'm with both, honestly. It kind of depends on what medium, what type of game I'm playing too. There's certain ones that will just set out on your path of, like, I will do everything I can not to talk to you. I'm just going to kill you, dude. And that is really satisfying too. Like,
I mean, there's a good benefit to, like, multiple, like, faceted villains, but, like, to me, my personal, like, when I enjoy them the most is because they are just abhorrent people.
I can't wait to kill you.
Yeah.
I think there's merit to both for sure. I think with the first one, there is some oversaturation with that where they try a little too hard, and it's like, your guy's kind of a try hard. The benefit to just writing him as a pure piece of shit that you want to kill, it's like, you can't really not do that well. If you do it right, it's like, yeah, I'm going to smoke this guy, and that's all I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and it's a little different in, like, it can be done very poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Just the same way as, like, any villain can be done poorly, but it's really easy just to, like, write a crappy villain that has no, like, reason for being crappy. Like, I guess they don't really necessarily need a reason, but seeing a reason why behind someone is so crappy and then just realizing that they have nothing to come back from, it just is, like, stronger in the writing too.
Like, you don't necessarily like them, but you just love to root against them, Like, comic book villains, like Red Skull is one of my favorites, not because he's, like, what he is, but it's like, I love seeing him get his curmudgeons, man, like, getting decked in the face by Cap. It's like, yeah, every time. Like, they've been doing it for, almost 100 years now, and I'm like, get him every time, so.
I like it also when a villain has some sort of attachment to the antagonist. I think Green Goblin is a great example. He killed Spider-Man's girlfriend at the time, and Spider-Man realizes, hey, this guy's wrong, but, like, he's my best friend's dad. It just, anytime there's multiple layers to that villain, it's more interesting. I think also the medium does matter.
It's like Green Goblin's got, like, the villain, but also, like, the nemesis side to it. Like, not all villains are, like, the nemesis of your character, and I think that adds a whole other layer.
That's the thing. Goblin's, like, the antithesis of Spider-Man, just, like, pure evil, like, beyond help. But also, it's, like, it's tragic because, Peter lost his girlfriend and his best friend from stopping him.
And he's, like, a father figure to him in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Whenever you have that intertwined relationship to the main character, it is interesting. And yeah, I think medium does matter. There's a lot of video games, for example, that don't do a great job of, he's bad, go stop him. It's not as entertaining to me.
It's weak. Yeah.
I also like an intelligent villain. I think it's cool when they're, like, terrifying because it's like, oh, not only am I bigger and stronger than you, I'm smarter than you. It's like,
Dr. Doom.
My favorite Batman villain's Bane because it's like he's gigantic. He looks like a luchador, first of all, so, like, respect. But also, he's, like, super cunning, and he's on Batman's intelligence level. It adds, like, a super dynamic to it where it's like, well, great. I got to fight him, and I got to outthink him. I've got one in a game we all played, so we'll start with that. We can all kind of chime in on this one. In my personal opinion, I think he's one of the best written video game characters ever. I picked Kane from the Legacy of Kane series because he's as his whole arc goes, he kind of changes from protagonist to antagonist, but he's still kind of an antagonist when you're playing the first game.
Well, you say we've all played, but I do not remember. So,
okay,
it's been many, many, many years.
I got a
while for me
refresher
too.
recently.
Yeah.
So I picked this one mainly because I can't think of too many other examples where you watch a character grow and develop so much, and you're kind of rooting for him in some games, and you realize, oh god, he's a bad guy, so I can't really root for him. Then he kind of redeems himself. It's a cool arc, and kind of getting some of my lore straight, getting a refresher, doing research for this one, I forgot like how good the dialogue was for this character. It's almost Shakespearean, man. Like, so Kane carries himself in the first game. He's a nobleman. He's kind of like directionless. He's just born into his role. You end up getting like murdered by these bandits. You get impaled, actually. So you're like laying there bleeding out, and you see this sorcerer dude walk by, and you're like, I'll do anything. Give me my life back. I'm going to get these guys. Very immature, brash. Set your journey out. In the first part of the game, you're basically just like, you don't even care that you've been reincarnated as a vampire. You're like, I'm just here to get these guys. I don't care about anything. Slowly you realize, like, if you don't embrace being a vampire, you're going to die. So you start sucking blood, murdering innocent people. You can almost see him like not fully embrace being a vampire, but he's like, I just want to get it so I can kill these guys. And you're not even thinking of anything after. So you kill these guys, you're like, now what? And you see like his character's growth in him, and you're almost like cheering for him. So the coolest thing about the first Legacy of Kane game, Blood Omen, set up this journey where he's like, you gotta kill these guardians for these 9 pillars, and like then you'll be kind of be out of my debt or whatever. Get to the 9th one, you realize it's you. And you're like, oh man, like Kane's gonna, kill himself and save the world. No, dude, he goes full villain, says F that, blows up the pillars, makes his throne out of them, is like, I'm ruling this land now. So he instantly becomes like a horrible bad guy where he literally damns the universe. So you're almost cheering for him this game's super long too. So you're like, oh yeah, and you grow and it's a shock ending. You're like, holy shit. He's like, goes about his business so eloquently, think he's growing up before your eyes, and it's like, no, I'm going to betray the whole world. So.
Man, I got none of this written for any of mine.
I don't remember that at all.
No,
It's been so
No,
long,
I mean,
though.
like, I don't have a description long enough for mine for like this. I'm like, they're bad.
But yeah, so then, you get the Soul Reaver games where he is the antagonist of those games. You're not controlling him. The guy you control in Soul Reaver Raziel is like betrayed by him, basically because he got more powerful than him through these vampire gifts. He gets wings. Kane gets jealous, throws you in a pit, rips your wings off. You kind of see the parallels going on where Raziel's out for revenge, doesn't want to be fully embedded with it. And by the twist, and I don't know if you guys remember the end of the first Soul Reaver game, the twist where Raziel kind of realizes like, maybe Kane didn't do all this because he's a selfish prick, but there's like a reason for it. That's when you find out the time travel stuff that's happening in Legacy of Kane, which is the series kind of known for getting diluted here.
That's why I don't remember this game.
Yeah. Oh, it is
weird.
Yeah.
Dude, the lore's crazy for this game, and like I really needed a refresher for it because I forgot how like in depth it was. To the point where there's a middle ground where you kind of like, okay, we have to work together to restore this timeline. If you're really trying to go back and like right your wrongs, I got you, man. Like we did centuries together in war, like as brothers. Like let's try to find that common ground again. And you realize Kane made a horribly selfish decision. But as he explains to Raziel in Soul Reaver 2, he's like, imagine every single decision you make was like affecting fate and destiny. Every time you took a step in a different direction than you're supposed to, like you're deciding the world's fate. Like I will have that burden every day. It's like I didn't make a selfish choice. I tried to save you all. So you kind of start feeling sympathetic for him. Like, well, he is a vampire lord, but like he's trying to right a wrong. You always cheer for people to like learn from their mistakes and stuff. So I highly recommend everyone check out these games if they haven't played them. I think as far as storytelling and long-term storytelling, Legacy of Kane has a lot going on for it. And you also get to see him. It's interesting because he grows as like, I would say, a human being. The more vampiric he gets, it's further in on the game series. It's like his body's deforming. He's becoming more vampiric every game, but he's like more human as that happens. So it's interesting to see the contrast of like his physicality like being completely non-human, but his brain almost going back to being like good human being trying to do right for everyone. So I really just loved his evolution, and I said it once already, but like the dialogue is so good in this game. There's so many profound quotes and stuff for him where you're like, damn, they put a lot of thought into this and making him like feel like a real person, like a real character. And I would almost compare it to like Shakespeare, like how eloquent and like how intelligent he comes off. So I've always been a big fan of Kane. I like vampires anyways. I think it's a medium that's definitely like flooded with oversaturation. There's a lot of vampire crap out there, but
Not anymore.
thankfully, because
Oh,
it was zombies now.
It was a early 2000s kind of thing, and then it was zombies.
I think through all that, this really stands out though, and it feels unique. So Kane's definitely up there for me.
It's been so long since I've played them. I know we've talked about it on
I
the
don't
reboot.
remember anything.
Damn, it's just another case for why we need a reboot.
Yeah, I've actually like even just doing the little bit of research I did to kind of like fill in some blanks. From like, I want to go back and play these. Like, probably in my to-do list is go back and play through these
After Witcher.
after Witcher and a lot of other things. Yeah, but so Kane's up there for me. It's one of my like. As soon as I thought of this episode, I was like, this is probably the first one I'm going to pick because he's. I don't know if he's my favorite like antagonist character ever, but he's definitely one I look to. It's like this is how you do it right. This is how you do it right long term. And he's a driving series of obviously Legacy of Kain series. I think it's really impressive to make someone feel important and integral to the world when they're not even like the main character in some of the games. So hats off to pulling out for that series. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I took a little bit different approach. I was kind of trying to think of like game series that make the villain feel important or make it feel special because as I alluded to earlier, I think video games, more than any other medium, it's like there's the bad guy, go get him, save the day, that's it. So whenever you have a little more razzle-dazzle in your villain, I think it makes for an interesting narrative. Far Cry is a really good series, I think, that makes every single villain feel like a special event or a driving force behind the narrative, particularly. I think it started with 2 on up. The first Far Cry game, not so much. It's pirates are kind of just surviving. But 2 was the first one where like they introduced the Jackal. He's like this main villain that you keep hearing stories about. You keep seeing his aftermath. So like when you finally confront him, it's a really big deal. And it's kind of been a staple in the series going forward since 2 on up. There's been some duds. I think Far Cry Primal is kind of a dud. It's kind of hard when there's not a lot of dialogue. But and also Far Cry 6, which is really a damn tragic because I think they had one of the best villains on TV ever cast with Juan Carlos Esposito. He was great on Breaking Bad as Gus, like one of the all-time great TV villains. It was kind of just a dud performance.
He was great in Mandalorian too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
He's a great villain, like always. So when they
I
first...
feel bad for the guy because he
Yeah.
always kind of like he's now like the villain.
Yep.
Did a lot of work
typecasted.
doing that though.
He likes it though. Like I saw an interview with him. He's talking about it. He's like, it's fun to kind of explore shit that, it's the polar opposite of me. That's what acting is, And I was like, oh, okay. But when they first announced him for Far Cry 6, I was like, oh, it's about to be good. Like this dude always puts on a great show. But I don't think it was his fault. The writing was really, really weak in Far Cry 6. You can tell they kind of built the environment first, and then the story was kind of an afterthought.
Is that the
It's like South America.
America culty
No,
one?
that's 5. And
Oh,
that one's
okay.
great. That's the thing. We came off a great villain too. And it's like, how do we do this? Oh, Juan Carlos Esposito, of course. But it just didn't land, man. And you could tell they were trying to echo shades of Far Cry 3 has Vas Montenegro, which everyone, if you Google like best video game villains, he's always top 3, top 2. And he does a great job. It's the first time they actually had an actor like portray the villain. So you can tell they were trying to like go back into that. And I don't think it landed in 6, but yeah, I'm not going to spend as much time on 3 because literally everybody knows Voss. He is great for a reason. I would say if you're starting in the series, start with 3 because the narrative's great. It's a little dated, but still modern enough where you can play it. But yeah, the villain is just like, hey, this sets the tone going forward. This is the pinnacle as far as this series is concerned. But I think 4 does a great job also. It goes back to, it's the only game where you have an emotional and personal connection to like the main antagonist, right? He's calling you throughout the whole game. He's the one that tells you to come back to your home country. And actually, funny enough, there's a secret ending where you can like, he literally tells you like, wait in this room for me and I'll be back. And if you wait for him, you can just like finish the game and that's how it ends. So there's a lot of interesting parallels there where he's constantly in your ear. He's with you the whole time, going through your adventure as you're rebelling against him the whole time. He's pretty underrated, Peng Min. And then lastly, yeah, Barry brought it up, Far Cry 5. It was probably my personal favorite other than Vass, of course. But he's like a religious cult leader who has like basically this whole city in Montana in his religious cult. So you're taking down his, quote, family the whole time. But he pops up and he's very menacing when he's on screen. It's always treated like it's a big deal instead of just like an end objective you're chasing, right? And then, spoiler, I'm sorry if you haven't played it yet, but I'm going to spoil the end of the game because it ties into this. Villain ends up being right, which is also a nice little twist. Like, he's basically saying that the apocalypse is coming through the whole game, and the very end of the game is like a nuke goes off. and then you're stuck in a bunker with him. So it's like your final goal of beating him, you don't, he's right, and you're stuck with him. So it's a really interesting parallel that most games don't tackle. I think Far Cry just does an amazing job as a series, like making the villain feel really important. Even when they're weak, like Far Cry Primal, the villain himself was really weak, but it felt like an event by the time you got to him and had to fight him. I think it's probably the best series with one exception that we'll talk about later as far as making bosses and villains feel important.
Yeah, I think it's always important in a gameplay where, the gameplay for Far Cry, you're kind of doing the same thing through like a long time. So if you have like a driving force to go actually like do about that business, it makes it far more satisfying when you get to smoke them. So,
and like you're saying, there's not a lot. Earlier we were talking about villains that are just bad. There's not a lot of redeeming qualities of Joseph Seed. Like he's kind of just a piece of shit you want to see dead, and it turns out he was right. It's kind of like, damn, it gets your head scratching a little bit. It's pretty fun. What about you, Barry? Any villains come to your head instantly?
I'll bring up a villain of a game that y'all haven't played, so I can talk. So it's Guntar O'Dim from The Witcher 3. And he wasn't really even a thing until Heart of Stone, the first DLC. So Guntar O'Dim, also known as the Master Mirror, you meet him literally in the tutorial stage in White Orchard. So like when Geralt is looking for Yennefer, he goes into this inn, fights these dudes who's like, they just kind of pick a fight, and Geralt's like, you don't really want to fight me, and they're like, yes we do, and you just like kind of kick their asses, and he just kind of pops up from the corner of the inn and is like, hey, my name's Guntar O'Dim, I can help you. They also call me the Master of Mirror, and you're like, what does that mean? Like, you were a merchant? He's like, of sorts. So he's a very mysterious character, and he offers you a deal, and Geralt's like, nah fam, like I don't know what you're about, I'm cool, I'm out of here. Like, off-putting as Geralt usually is. So he just kind of never comes up, like, ever again in the game. And then the Heart of Stone DLC comes out, and it ends up being, like, Guntar, I don't even know how to describe him. We don't actually know what he is. He can do a multitude of things. His whole thing is, like, making deals with people. And there is... I think it's in the main game. You can fight a monster that like the only way to kill it is to like trick it or whatever, and he kind of does a similar thing where he is happy when he's just like fucking people over hardcore. He makes these deals with people, and like think of like a genie, where a genie will make a deal, but you have to be very careful with your words, otherwise they'll do some things that you're not expecting. So I think one guy like he made some kind of deal with him where he can be like, nothing can hurt him, he's going to be impervious or whatever, so he can like live a long time, like nobody can attack him and fight him. And he was like, okay, and he eventually he basically just like traps him in this area where he can't leave the area, but nothing will harm him inside of the area. So like, yeah, he got his wish. He wanted to be invulnerable basically, but now he's stuck in this small area because he can't leave. So he does these weird little things where he just like plays with people and makes deals, and you have to be very careful about making a deal with him. And so at the beginning of Heart of Stone, like Geralt is taken captive on a boat, and you're about to go like to another country, and he shows up in the ship's hold, and he's like, Geralt, like I can get you out of here for a deal. And Geralt's like, no, I don't do deals with you. And he's like, okay. And then Geralt's like, fine, like I'll make a deal. And you don't exactly know what kind of deal you make with him, but you make one, and he's very like, he pops up at a wedding that happens, and he's like, Geralt, you told me, remember the things that you told me you were going to do for me? Like, you got to do them. And he's like very sneaky about how he does things. He can like take people's souls. He can do this crazy amount of stuff, and you end up finding that there's a guy who has been trying to research him, and just researching him made him go blind, because this guy's like so evil. He's literally like, this Guntar guy, like don't mess with him, he's evil incarnate. Like they kind of allude that he's like the devil of like the world. Like you thought that, Aridin was going to be a bad guy from like another dimension. Like Guntar is worse. Like he's scary, a very scary dude. So I'm just like, the guy went like blind researching him. He didn't even do anything. He didn't deal with him at all. But like the stuff that he read about him was just like so horrifying that he went blind. He's like, I cannot repeat what I said. Like it's so terrifying, I might go crazy. So he's like a very, very, very scary villain, and you just like don't know what he's capable of, which makes it even more scary to like deal with him, because there are situations in the game where you have multiple options of dealing with him at the end, and like what you choose kind of changes some things.
That's cool.
So
yeah, the unknown sometimes where it's like almost like a mystique built up for a villain, and you're like, and then you encounter him and you're like, shit. So you don't really know what to expect. That's pretty cool.
You know, the whole thing of Witcher and like Geralt is like understanding the monsters that he's supposed to slay, like knowing how to kill them, what he needs to do to prepare for him, and there's nothing on this guy.
Yeah.
You can't find anything about this guy. Geralt has no idea how to deal with him. And then like you ultimately have to like make a final encounter with still not knowing what this guy's fully capable of, but knowing what he is capable of is already terrifying as it is. And and the only way to beat him, you can't kill him. You can't kill him. There's no way to like just kill him. Nobody's found a way to kill him. You can stab him and nothing happens. You can hit magic, nothing happens. And like the only way to deal with him is to trick him into a deal.
Playing his game.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's like Mr.
So-
McPlicit. Yeah.
So he's like very scary. And he's just like, I don't really care about you. You're a little peon peasant. I am whatever being I am. I'm just playing Monopoly with you guys. Like, you guys' lives mean nothing to me. I'm having fun in whatever stupid deal you decided to make with me, and now this guy over here can't leave his house. Like, haha, that's funny. He's just like making deals with people. And if I believe I remember correctly, the main character / villain sort of Hearts of Stone made a deal with him. Oh, that's right, because that character made a deal with Guntar, didn't deliver, and now Guntar's condition for you is to go deal with him. He's like, well, he didn't deliver on what our deal was, so our deal is for you to deal with him. And it's just like a circle of deals. So you have to try and figure out how to like appease them, because this other guy, like, he can't die.
Without getting caught in the
You're
web.
you're supposed to kill him, but he literally cannot die.
That's
like
cool.
at all. So
Sounds like a good villain. It's like a mix of Mephisto with his trickery to get you what you want, with making you pay for it at the end, but with like the god ability of Galactus, where it's like that both of those villains are extremely fun in their own ways, where it's like the mental side of it and like, how do you beat God? We don't know how to stop this guy. What are you going to do?
Right, and Guntar's on like a god level, and
Yeah.
you're just a witcher. You're just like an old witcher who's trying to like do some stuff, and so you kind of have to figure out how you're supposed to deal with him, and then deal with all these people that just like can't die.
That's fun.
You just, get their heads cut off, and then they're fine. No big deal, bros.
Sounds sick.
And what I enjoy most about that one is like it was, I don't know how long that was planned for, or what their original plans for him were, or the relevancy of it, but like you literally met him in the tutorial area of the first game, and with the whole game never seeing him again. And as far as I remember, never seeing him again, but it's quite possible that he may have shown up in areas and I just wasn't aware. I'd have to go look at it.
Yeah.
But he's just like, I'm the master of mirrors, and so he just says it nonchalant. He looks like a grubby little like traveling merchant guy. So you're just thinking this is some merchant being like, I'm the master of mirrors, and I'm like, what are you gonna sell me, a fucking mirror? I don't need that. Like, go away from me. And he ends up being like Satan himself.
That's pretty sick.
So they full circled all the way back to him in the first DLC, and it was really good. Seeing like, at first he popped up and I was like, who is this guy? Why? He's like, you're Guntar Dim, do you not remember me? I said, no. And then I was like, oh, you're in the 80 hours ago. I remember you now in the tutorial stage, thanks.
Yeah,
So
I like when people take like a concept that's like, like I want to say it's like, the rock. There was like a urban legend about I think he was a jazz musician, like sold the devil, ended up playing the blues or whatever. Like take something like that and then like expound upon it to make its own thing. Like it's pretty cool when you can evolve like a concept into like a whole new animal.
just Ghost Rider.
Yeah. But yeah, that's sick. That sounds like a fun one. I'm even more excited to play the game now.
I didn't want to like say too much about him because there's some good points. I think Blood and Wine's a better DLC, but both were good.
But they're both damn near full games anyways.
Witcher's got really good villains in general, though. I think the antagonist for Witcher 2 is great. Like, what's his name? Letho of Golett.
That's right.
Kingslayer is what I was going to go with his actual name. He's killing all these kings or whatever, and you don't know it until the very end that he's doing it for Nilfgaard to try to help the Witchers get a higher standing. It goes back to, villains I like, is probably why I like him so much. He's got the right intention at heart, but he's going about it the most horrible way possible. It was really fun going through Witcher 2. And then Barry and I were talking, when we weren't doing this. I didn't know you could, if you keep them alive, you can beat them with your 3. That's awesome.
It'll ask you a bunch of questions, and I think you can answer, like, what did you do with this person? Or do you remember this situation?
Sick.
Or, you know, I think you get taken to the Emperor. You have to go talk to the Emperor the first part of the game, and this guy is, like, shaving you and asking you these questions about, like, what you would have done in the previous game. So that's when you get your opportunity to say what you want to say.
It's cool. It's like Mass Effect 2 when you didn't have a save and you got to pick all the options you want.
Speaking of Mass Effect 2.
Hey, look at that.
Speaking of Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
The Elusive Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
The Elusive Man, I think, is hands down one of the best acted
absolutely.
villains.
Yeah.
It's super standout because he's like kind of working in the background too, so he's not like in your face, like hunting to kill you or anything, and he's pulling all these strings.
Well, specifically with Mass Effect 2, the contrast with 1 and 2, where the first game, all the aliens are telling you how shitty humans are, and you're like, no, we're great. And then literally 2, you're thrown into the shittiest of shit humans, you know, trying to push everybody else down. It's a really cool parallel.
Well, it's interesting too because, like, you know, the first game. And speaking of parallels, like, you know, you're, like we've talked about before, you're a Spectre, but you're not given the freedoms of what a Spectre is supposed to be given, and you're constantly, like, told that you're doing a poor job, even though other Spectres get to do the same or even worse job, and they're praised or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole thing about, like, oh, we have to make nice with the aliens. And then you get to the second game, and, you know, the Elusive Man's like, I'm putting humanity first.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, the council didn't take us seriously. We have to prove to them that, like, we deserve to be taken seriously. And at first, you're like, you know what? That's right. After my experience in the first game, like, they didn't take my shit serious at all. And the Elusive Man's like, you know, I'm not saying that, like, aliens are bad or anything, but, like, you have to think about humanity first. Here's the dossiers, and, like, most of them are humans, but you've got some aliens in there too. So you're like, oh, okay, he's not, like, a complete shitball, I guess. So you just kind of, you know, what's that word? I don't know, spoon feeds you some shit, and so you start believing him.
Tries to manipulate you.
Tries to manipulate you.
Plus, like, you owe him because the beginning of Mass Effect 2 is so crazy. Like, kind of in debt to him.
He spends like a bajillion credits, like, bringing your dead body back to life.
So
and
you
you're
feel
just
like you have
oh,
to, but it's like, damn, this don't feel good. Like,
And yeah, they intentionally send the hot girl that you see first to wake you up and be like, see, humans have your best interest at heart.
You know what?
They straight up admit it.
They got me.
They got us all.
got us all.
They got me.
You got a pulse, they got you.
That's a really fun exploration, though. And then even when you talk to your alien squad mates, they're like, "You're with Cerberus now." Like, what? This is such a stress contrast.
And then it full circles into the third game where he joins the Reapers, like, on purpose. Where, like, the whole point, he was like, "I'm putting humanity first," and then the dude just turns into a husk, basically.
Like, you remember what the Reapers are, right? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's just like,
dick.
"I'm putting humanity first by joining the Reapers," and you're just like, "What?" Yeah, I betrayed the betrayer, the betrayed. What's going on, dude? And, like, he was played so well because he's, like, very charming, and you want to, like, you know, believe what he's talking about, and he's very straightforward, but he also is elusive. Did they ever reveal what his actual name is in the series?
Nope.
Excellent. I like that.
Yeah. There's a dossier where it's like these are a couple aliases that could potentially be, but it's never a definitive answer. Yeah, it's nice.
So I think he's a very, very well written.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very well played villain, too.
It's interesting when more and more games, I feel like that was the first one I can remember where it's like an A-list actor, right?
Mm-hmm.
More and more games are starting to, like, cast either antagonist or protagonist as a Hollywood level actor.
Well, I feel like Mass Effect 2 had a couple of them, because I know Miranda was voiced and mocapped by the same person. He was too, and was modeled just after Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
Voiced by Martin Sheen. The Commander Shepard was facial scanned, but not acted by the same guy. Yeah. But that was, like, when facial scanning started to be a big thing. And I feel like Mass Effect 2 was, like, really the
Even
first
likeness,
one
though, is what I'm getting at.
that was doing, like, likeness matching the actor.
Yeah, 'cause I remember, like, other games, they'll do voice work or whatever, but Mass Effect's, like, the first one that sticks out in my mind where it's like we have a A-list doing likeness, voice, and mocap.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
I don't know. I know it was them two. Was there any other people in Mass Effect 2 that you know?
Not the top of my head, but, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was more just in it. Cause
Freddie Prinze Jr., that was
three
though, right?
Yeah.
For who?
He was a fucking pull-up boy.
Vega?
Yeah. for the voice. Yeah,
Oh, wasn't that the face though?
yeah, it wasn't the face, just the voice acting. Again, yeah, as far as having that mocap, the trio mocap.
You're right. That is like a
acting in
thing
face.
in games now. I mean, there was that studio. What's like the point and click studio that was on PlayStation exclusives? They got like
Oh, the not Quantum Break.
it's like Elliot Pages in the games and like
I know what you're talking about. Damn, Hard
Beyond?
Rain, Hard Rain.
those kind of games. Yeah,
People that made
they do
Hard
all,
Rain,
like
uh,
actors and stuff now.
Beyond
yeah, Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls, that's what it was.
Their whole studio basically like picks actors, actresses, and does a performance with them, and it's like they're very integral to the game. There's a lot of games now that have
Quantic Dream. Jesus Christ.
Quantic, okay.
shows you how much we've played these. But we know of them because like it was a big deal that like, hey, we got like real actors to do this, and you know, there's some people that have like outstanding voice acting. There's people that are doing like, the actual character model, you know, the scanning, and it does add a super like feels like professional dynamic to it, so makes it far more memorable.
It's almost showing that these developers realize how, you know, it's going back to Far Cry 6. They tried it, you know, they realized, hey, let's spend the money and try to get a A-list performance again out of the villain. It is a driving force sometimes for some of these games to have a strong villain.
You know, the ones I can think of that have like mocap is like is it Resident Evil 7? Whatever her tall vampire lady.
Oh,
8, yeah.
8?
yeah.
Resident Evil 8? I don't remember what her name. I can't even say her name.
Dumascu
Dumascu or whatever. Yeah.
Step on you.
Yes.
I remember I think she won a game award for that, right? The voice actress.
Sounds about right.
And I believe that was mocapped.
Yeah.
And that was also, I'm pretty sure, her likeness. Worked with, but I think it was mostly her likeness. And then like that was why like Last of Us was so good, because like all of those scenes were motion capture, and they all were in it like playing those roles, and it's just a lot better than someone trying to sit there and animate a 3D model. I mean, that's why Baldur's Gate was so good too, because everything's mocapped. And like the characters like aren't likeness, but they aren't one for one likeness, but I can tell that they've taken inspiration from who their voice actors are and have like kind of fiddled with it a little bit. So it was interesting to see like when you see a cast and you know that, okay, this cast members has been in the game, and you can pick out like that was probably that person, that was probably that person. And like you're right every time, even though it wasn't their complete like likeness. It's cool that they're using like things in the character or in the actors and like reflecting that on their characters too. So I think that's why a lot of games are successful with like their acting now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Mass Effect 2 was like the first one I really feel like that being successful with.
Yeah, because they had voice actors too. Like I know Seth Green was Joker, but yeah, having that
his likeness was a little bit in it too.
Yeah,
I would say I don't think he was a full facial scan
legs.
though.
Yeah, not his legs.
I don't think he was a facial scan, but I feel like I could tell that they may have taken some inspiration from what he looked like.
Definitely interesting that developers are spending more money to get that acting performance out of
and they're good too.
Yeah,
they're good.
So it's obviously easier to get attached to somebody if they're being portrayed by a professional. Do you guys have any villains that's like you kind of had to? They didn't have voice acting, they didn't have mocap, and you still got a pretty big impact from them.
Kefka. I don't want to keep going, but somebody else can say one.
I'll go. It's probably the last chance I get to talk about this game because I've pretty much melted to the point of exhaustion. But the main antagonist in Morrowind is super special to me. I'm not going to bury us in 45 minutes of Elder Scrolls lore, but
try not to.
I won't. But he's basically the inversion of he's based off Lucifer in a sense where doesn't really have a bad origin. He starts off, one of the boys, one of the good guys. He's actually like a council member of one of the houses. And through a series of events, he gets tasked with guarding the basically equivalent of like a nuclear warhead that wiped out a race of people he didn't really want to wipe out. He wanted to destroy them. They're like, no, we're going to charge you with protecting him. He already knew the other guys running shit was like up to no good. So he's like, I'm going to make a weapon to stop him. They catch him. They kill him. They wipe out his whole house. They're like, you're an embarrassment. Vivek, who's a main driving force in the Elder Scrolls series, basically like charades being a god because he basically thinks he figures out how the universe works. Convinces everyone he does. Dagoth reappears.
I'm already lost.
I'm doing a very
I'm just like, what?
Very, very abridged version here. Like people who are like, oh, there's no, like I'm obviously paraphrasing. He comes back basically as an inversion of Kim, where he realizes, and in Elder Scrolls lore, all of reality is based on a god's dream. When you realize that, you achieve Kim, allegedly. He comes back like, I am reality. I am God. I can prove it. I'm not dead. I came back stronger, better, I'm going to restore the house. I'm going to bring Morrowind back to its former glory. I think the narrative, how they put these seeds in the game where you hear about him, his disciples are coming up to you first, and you're kind of like, what the hell? It slowly unfolds that you're part of this whole play, and his dialogue's fantastic, even though it's not voice acted, unfortunately. But I remember like the anticipation of finally confronting him for the last time when you know you're going to go kill him. He confronts you with like the most badass quote ever, where he's like, I'm a god, how can you kill me? Like, what a grand and intoxicating innocence. And it's great performance, like, as far as a writing standpoint, because they didn't have any hardly voice acting in Morrowind, so he's super memorable. He's referenced throughout Elder Scrolls even after his death. He was that important of a character. So I'm a sucker for Elder Scrolls anyways, but I think he's by far the best villain they've ever had. He had a lot of personal stake, and you could see kind of where he's coming from in a lot of ways, where it's like, well, if your best friend betrayed you and started pretending they were gods, and you came back a god, like, wouldn't you want to give them their curmudgeons? He'll always stand out to me. I replay that game so often to go hang out with them in the Red Mountains, so that's one for me where it's like there's no real performance, but he still makes a profound impact on me. That was like the super abridged version.
Yeah, I was thinking of another series that does a really good job with its villains. Metal Gear. I mean, every single boss fight, these characters stand out and they're so different and they have different motivations. And they all have voice work. It's another thing that helps. I mean, even some of the PSP ones, but all the villains, there's a lot of, what I like in a villain, sympathy. They were turned into these monsters, or, well, it's not by their own doing why they have to do this, or they're repaying a debt. Go down the list, man. They all stand out. The actual gameplay perspective of the boss fight, too, or that villain, it's always a standout. Everybody's got a favorite Metal Gear villain from every game. Even the shitty ones in 5 are still like a fun boss fight for the most part. But I think the series does a really good job of making the villains feel important.
Definitely the fights with them.
Yeah, there's a bigger task at hand always, right? But I mean, like, the fact that Ocelot's in like all of them, and he's gone with you since the beginning. Really interesting character. He's so bombastic and he's so over the top. He stands out. I mean, he's the standout for me is Ocelot Revolver, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I actually had him on my list. I had of good video game villains, but there's some crazy shit in Metal Gear Solid to get away with.
Oh yeah, but the fact that he's just like so over the top and like amplified to 1,000,000 as a villain's fun too.
Like when he gets possessed by an arm.
Yeah, yes. But like if you remember that last fight when you're fighting Snake in 4, and it's just so over the top. You know how rewarding that was, like when you beat him finally, and you know it's the last time you're ever gonna fight him because you've gone through so many other games of trying to stop this guy. That's the one that stands out for me, where it's like you weren't mocapped, but like, dude. Like, since, 1998, I've been trying to kill this guy. So, it was a blast.
Yeah, I think with Metal Gear specifically, too, there's times where it's like, that's a really good villain. There's times where it's like, there's just too much here. And it's just, you're just throwing twist to throw twist. And like, to be clear, I don't want anyone burning my house down. I do love the Metal Gear series. I like Kojima's stuff for the most part. There's sometimes where like, I think he just tries to throw a bolt of lightning and something to like get your attention again. And I think Ocelot was a great character already. They didn't have to go through this. Is he just pretending to be possessed because he has his arm grafted to him, or is he actually possessed with his arm grafted to him? It like took away from him already being a really good character. So there's times where he's like hurting himself, honestly, in his own writing.
Yeah, another one, Barry. Who were you going to bring up?
I mean, Nate said performances that weren't voiced or acted, and Kefka, I think, is a prime example from Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, dude.
No voice acting. It's really all just text-based, but he is the pinnacle of, like, absolute batshit insane and does not care. He was a court mage who was experimented on with Magitech, and it basically like completely ruined his mind. He got some sick powers from it, but it completely ruined his psyche, and so now he's just like absolutely insane. He has no. I think at some point in the game they talk about how he has no ability to feel joy other than like. It's weird because he's like got this weird like psychotic, like those behaviors that they say like that's borderline like you're on the line for a psychopath serial killer, like mental problems, like that's him, like to a degree. I feel like there was one point where they said he can't feel joy or hope or anything, and he's the character that you cannot reason with because he's so far gone, and it's like not necessarily his fault, but that's just where he is mentally. And his way of, like, thinking he's feeling joy is just by, like, doing all these horrible things, and he correlates those as the same thing. So he's just, like, and he eventually gets to the point where he's like, life is meaningless. Like, it's super like it's a lot of nepotism in there. Not nepotism. Where just like everything is pointless.
Oh, nihilist.
Nihilist. He's very like a nihilistic nature, so that's why he just like destroys the world, like completely destroys the world midway through the game.
Yep.
So
It's crazy.
yeah, and he like has the power to do it, and like has no like shame or no feelings of like regret or anything. He's like, this is exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
Literally pointless.
The cool thing with him, kind of too, we're touching on your point, or I know everyone knows who Thanos is at this point, but like, you know, his whole thing was like, oh, he thinks he's doing right. Kefka was just like, nah,
Kefka
fam.
doesn't care.
I'm like, he's as ruthless with no motive other than just like, it's all pointless anyways. Might as well have my
Yes.
attempt to find something. So like, and he looks terrifying too. Like he's creepy.
He's a crazy, creepy, you know, court mage, like a jester, basically. Not really like a mage magic user. He's kind of more of like a jester that just gains these god magic powers through, you know, Magitech. He might have had some mage. I think he was mostly as a joke, if I'm remembering right.
Mm-hmm.
I could be misremembering. I need to play that game again.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a while. It's like a great game though.
Yeah. So he is literally like the epitome of the villain that has no place to come back from, does not want to come back from it, doesn't see a problem with what he's doing. Like there's no like moral compass there. It's like he wants to do what he wants to do at any point in time because he's like Nate said, there's no point to anything anyway, so I might as well do what I want. And you can't like reason with that. And he is like diabolical.
Yeah, like you brought up Joker earlier, but Joker even has a motive. He's like, oh, I'm having fun. Everything's a joke. Carnage to a degree was like, he's crazy and a killer, but like this dude don't feel nothing. It's like he's not doing it for kicks. He's not doing it for the lulz. He's like,
nope. That's just
like,
how he's like.
It's like a wave. You can't stop it.
Nope.
Like it's cool. It also sets like a pretty like dreadful like, okay, what do we do about this?
Yeah,
you know?
like you literally can't do anything about him except trying to figure out how to like perma-stop him.
I'll add one more note on Final Fantasy VI really quick. Yeah, I feel like his tone like carries throughout that whole game too, where it's like almost it's not a super hopeful game. It's very much like shit the whole game. So Final Fantasy VI is a pretty special game, dude.
I feel like out of any other genre, JRPGs do a really good job making the boss feel like a big deal also.
Oh yeah.
Even like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities where you're going to fight 3 stages of that same god. But yeah, it always feels like a bombastic big deal when you have the final confrontation with that villain.
Yeah, JRPGs specifically do a great job of making them like grandiose and almost like an unstoppable force of nature. So that Kefka's a really good pick, honestly.
So like on one hand, like with Kefka, like there's no point of return, like you can't reason with him. There's no hope there that you can pull on. Literally nothing. Where I was gonna bring up Raphael in Baldur's Gate 3, but I think Ketheric Thorm is really good. He's voiced by, I can't remember who he's voiced by. He's a very, very popular voice actor. I know him from Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Say bald or blue.
Bald.
Oh, J.K.
He's always
Simmons,
bald,
bro.
dude. Yes, J.K.
Oh, okay.
Simmons.
J.
Jonah
Jonah.
Jameson.
Yeah.
So he's like, yes, that's who it was. His performance is incredible. The first time, I think he has one of the best villain introductions ever. So he basically is one of the 3 chosen of like the betrayer gods, right? His is Merkel, the god of death. So he is like, let's say he's, I don't know, not like a prophet, but like the chosen person that has like that god's power to like kind of represent them on the plane, I suppose, and like do their evil deeds. So his is Merkel, the god of death, and he's a thorn in the side of the second act of the game because he's unkillable. He cannot die. And they're like, we don't know what to do about this guy. Like you gotta find the magic. Like please help us. Like get rid of this guy. He can't die. Like at all. So you kind of hear about him like, okay, he's invincible, he's invulnerable, like what? And there's multiple ways you can meet him, but the way that I did is you can basically sneak into where they are, pretend to be like one of their followers, and you see him sitting on this throne, and he gets up, and he's in this really cool like skeletal armor.
He looks sick.
He's got this really like, nasty villainy voice. It's really rich, and he's got these 2 goblins, and he's basically saying like, y'all are useless, like what have you guys done or anything? And one of the goblins gets pissed and just chucks this axe at him, and it fully embeds in his chest and his neck, like damn near beheads him, almost cuts his entire head off, like all the way through his body. Oh, he's still sitting in the chair. He doesn't even stand up yet. So he's sitting in the chair, and she just like chucks this axe, like goes through his body, through his chest, through his neck, into the chair, and I'm just like, oh. That was the guy we're supposed to kill, and it just got murked by a goblin, and he just like kind of cracks his neck back up and like pulls the axe out and just like walks over, and he's like this huge gash in him that's like could have killed a man. Walks over to her, drops the axe down, and he's like, do you want to try again? And I was like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? He's like badass. And she's like, ah, and eventually just like stomps this goblin lady to death. But I was like, that's the guy I'm supposed to get rid of? Him? And I'm just like, I can see why he's like the chosen of Merkel, the god of death now. So his villain, I don't want to like super keep going into it if we don't have time, but his like villain story is he is driven by the fact that his daughter had died. And she was like everything to him, so he made the deal with the god to bring her back to life. She hates him. I won't say who she is because it's kind of a spoiler, but she just hates his guts. So like he did everything he could and made this deal to bring his daughter back, and her daughter's just like, fuck this guy. So now he's like stuck being the chosen. But there's a point where you can talk him out of like fighting if you have like enough charisma or whatever. You can convince him that like you have a chance of retribution, like you don't have to do this, like yada yada. So there's multiple ways that can go. And so in parallel to like Kefka, there's nothing there. Like even though he's like given himself over to a god of death entirely and is completely invulnerable, can do whatever, he's still kind of like tied to the plane a little bit of like his own personal choices and like still has his own conscience. But not Kefka. There's nothing there, dude. I want to say like head empty. Head's kind of empty, but I think Ketherick Thorm is like a really, really, really good villain to come out of that game. He has a lot of things about his character that like make it understandable about what he's doing. Kind of like what Brian's saying of being like, you kind of feel bad for him a little bit, or you're like, damn man, you wanted your kid back to life. Like I get it, but you're also like killing tons of people.
Yeah, I get what you're doing, but the way you're going
about
it is horribly wrong.
So, you can just be like, why don't you just kill yourself?
Annie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so he's
on my first playthrough, I convinced him just to kill himself.
So he's the only one that can kill him?
No, I'm not gonna, that's a big spoiler in of itself. I'm not gonna talk about his invulnerability, but he can die. His invulnerability is like not him. It's a whole separate thing.
It's pretty cool in a game full of like standout characters from what I hear. Like, just guess this dude's freaking badass. That
it was
out.
awesome.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I was like,
I'm not familiar. I haven't played the game.
This guy's crazy.
I looked up a picture. And I was like, oh, this dude looks freaking awesome.
J.K. Simmons too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Talk about another actor that plays a great villain.
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
excellent voice acting on that one. It was
Omni-Man. He's great, dude.
It was, and it's funny because like that guy, he plays Tenzin in Korra, the Avatar: The Last Legend of Korra. And like Tenzin is like this bald monk who's a airbender, and he's all about like understanding the spiritual and like being peaceful. And I said, hold up, that's the same guy.
Cool. So
he's got range.
Yeah,
he's got really good range.
Great. So let's wrap up here. Let's all go around and say our most satisfying like gotcha for like antagonists that you murked.
Oh, this one's easy. Barry brought this one up, and I was
General Shepard. General
Shepard, bro. You're in a certain age group. That knife flying through the air in slow-mo is the most satisfying land ever.
General Shepard from Mass Effect 2. Good lord, Modern Warfare 2, dude, the original one.
So rewarding. Like killed our boys. Like
just the utter betrayal of playing Ghost first person and getting shot in the chest. Like as you're on the ground, like arm up, grasping for help, and he just like double taps you basically.
I remember the first time playing that. I don't remember what year it came out. I was fairly younger, but I remember playing that just be like, no.
Then
literally in 3, when it's like, click RB for the knife, I was like, oh my god, yes. Like it was the most satisfying, like, got him.
And that worst part of that too was like that ultimate betrayal was the very, very end of the game. And that's where it left. And we were like,
credits roll immediately after. Like, no.
It was insane.
I'm going with an old school one. The first one I knew, even when I was a very young kid, I was playing Wolfenstein 3D. And I think it's the 4th chapter. You get to go kill Hitler finally, and you're like, "Oh yeah, dude!" And then when you like shoot him with a minigun, like he doesn't just die. He like turns into bits of like guts, and you're just like, "Got him!" Like "F you, Nazi scum!" It's so satisfying. Even now, it's like it gives you like it knew too, because it gives you like an instant replay of when he dies. You just watches bits like fall apart in slow motion. He's like, "Oh!" like screaming. It's like, got you. And there's like little cuts to your guy. It's like, yeah. It's super satisfying, even today. I mean, you're talking about an archaic game, but anytime you can kill Hitler, dude, come on.
Oh, yeah.
True.
That's all I'm saying is for this. I know they've changed Shepard quite a bit in Modern Warfare for the newer ones. If there's not some sort of callback to this knife flying through the air and hitting this guy,
Yeah, I
some way.
suppose we'll see on this one. Have you seen any of the cutscenes for it, or you played through
I've
it?
seen some of the Markov stuff.
Because so basically, like what happens is he has
talking about for 2 or 3.
2.
Yeah, I've played 2. Yeah.
Okay, like at the end where he like Price is like, you knew this whole time, and he's
Yeah.
like sitting behind a computer, like in his little general outfit, and like Washington or whatever. And he's very much more political in this one, rather than like being on the
Yeah.
ground, like boots on the ground kind of guy in the last one. So like the betrayal kind of still was there. Like the guy still dies.
very
Everything
right.
happens,
It's
but it
more
doesn't feel
You
personal.
didn't bleed with the guy.
That's the thing.
You know-
It's more Zero Dark 30 in the remake where he's behind the scenes, it's political theater. In the first game, and especially the early Call of Duty games, it was you and your boys. And like duty kills you and your boys. Like
Yep.
it was so
Was
satisfying.
it Ghost and Soap?
Yep.
Is that who he just was?
Yep. And then you remember and then the end of Modern Warfare 3 when you get in the Juggernaut suits and you're like, we're gonna get this guy. Like, God, it was so
It was
rewarding,
pretty
dude.
sweet, dude. I kind of want to play those.
Getting
campaigns
goosebumps, bro. Like this shit was so good.
I
Like,
just-
they better.
I can't remember a game that left on such a big cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah.
Other than like that.
Yeah,
And
out
it's
of nowhere
so stupid
too.
to sit here and be like, man, Call of Duty had such a good campaign story, but like it was
It
good.
was so
It felt like
good.
a Hollywood like revenge movie, though.
yeah,
Like,
it was good. Tom Clancy, step aside.
Listen, people shit on Call of Duty, but it's like they had a thing going with those campaigns. Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a reason Call of Duty stayed successful. It kept having to. We got to put the campaign in there because they were good for a long time, dude. Like,
Yeah.
don't have revisionist history. Those were hard ass campaigns, bro, and they were awesome.
They still hold up. Some of the missions are all timers, you know? Even in the remake, they've gone back and like had echoes to them or callbacks.
I don't think the new ones are as good.
I agree.
I think the original Modern Warfare trilogy was the best.
Agree.
I'll second it. Third
See.
it.
Also, like, which one was the airport one?
No Russian
2.
2. Yeah.
Two?
Yeah.
So that wasn't in that wasn't in this one.
So there's the way 2's campaign ends, it's like a cell phone on a plane. It's all plastic cell phone,
Mhm.
and the text says no Russian. So like they're setting it up for maybe the intro to 3.
I don't think they're going to include
They're
it.
not going to include. You know how
I
big
don't
of a shock
It was a
people were
huge
shitty.
deal when that
Yeah.
one first came out, and I remember like playing
Even
it
playing
for the first
it, I was
time.
like, oh my god!
They just like hand you a gun and you're walking through the airport, and they just start shooting people,
And,
and I
like-
was like, "Am I supposed to shoot people?"
They make it like extra graphic. They're like crawling to their deaths, like just bleeding
Yeah.
out. And it's like
Dude.
all innocent civilians, and they're like they like hold their screams out longer than anyone else in the game. Like you just shoot the soldier, and they're like, "Ooh!" These dudes are like, "Oh!" like crawling, bleeding.
Yeah,
And
and
you're
I
like,
remember
"Ooh."
like going through the whole thing, like being like, "Am I supposed to be incognito?" And I'm like, "I don't want to shoot these people."
yeah.
So I get to that one point where like, I don't know, they were like,
Like,
you're
smoke 'em.
you're not who you say you are. You're a traitor. And I was like, oh shit, oh no. So I like didn't know, and I was like, well crap. So I reloaded it, being like, I guess I have to shoot somebody to like blend in, but I feel so bad about like shooting this computer civilian because it was just like graphic. And then it gets to the end and they still know, and I was like, no, I shot these people. I'm so sorry.
See, the first Modern Warfare remake, they did a real good job with those
that
parallels.
map is so good too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As far as like the parallels between like, hey, where's this line to stop the bad guys? The first campaign for the remakes did a really good job of that. Because remember, like the level you're clearing out the house,
The baby.
and there's like a woman that grabs the bait. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, you know, Price is just like, oh, on with the mission, and you're like, oh shit, like this is wild. That's the life these dudes live, man. I'm hoping. And 2 was more. The campaign for the remake of 2 was more like set piece heavy.
the Modern Warfare 2 remaster campaign, they have like a warning label for like the airport level
Mhm.
now because it was like, hey, you might remember this.
Yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing
No,
when that
dude.
game first came out. I remember buying it.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
like I was just like, oh, the first one was good, so I was like, oh, sweet. I know me and my dad will want to play this one, and there was nothing for that. And I was like, oh wait, what? What's
all you
going
people that make
on?
fun of Call of Duty definitely had some moments in time where you're like, whew. So let's wrap this one up though, guys. Yeah. So
All I'm saying really quick is if they don't do no Russian, fine, I get it. But if we don't get that fucking knife going through the air,
Hey,
I'll be pissed.
I will say this will probably be out by the time that game's out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Ooh,
if you listen to this, you can come tell us because
Gotcha.
I'm not buying it.
I'm getting it. I already got it pre-ordered, so
Ugh.
I'll let you know. I'm ready.
Sheep.
Need that knife, bro.
I feel like this is definitely one that we can revisit because I think we all had more we wanted to talk about and stuff. So we might in the future, but we'd love to hear from you guys in the Discord. Throw out some antagonists that you enjoyed. let's talk about what's next for the Collecti-Bros. Barry, what's in the pipeline?
So we're doing a special Christmas episode this year. There was a request from a member of our Discord to talk about Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, but we're going to make this a Kirby triple feature. So we're going to talk about Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. Nate's going to talk about
Kirby's Dream Land 2.
and then Brian is picked.
Kirby's Dream Course.
So we're going to play all three of them. They're very brief games. And then we're going to have a Kirby-centric Christmas special.
Thanks for listening, guys. We always appreciate you. Appreciate the continued support. And until next time, Collecti-Bros. Out. 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 Out.